Welcome back to the Tribal Lines podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Lupo, and for this episode, episode three, we have an amazing guest co-host tonight. We have Jay West. Jay West, how you doing?
What's up, man? What's up, bro? I was good, everybody. I'm Jay West, Messy West, Wild West, whatever you want to call me, and I'm here to break down episode three with my boy Stephen Lupo. What's up, bro? Thank you for having me.
Of course, dude. Great to have you back. We've had you on, I think, every single season so far, and so happy to have you back with us and recapping this episode. And I know it's going to be an interesting one to recap with you too, because you know Asia. And unfortunately, Asia was the one voted out this episode. Sucks to see her go so early. Rob has a podcast co-host, and I have listened to her so many times when listening to those recaps for the past few seasons. So seeing her on my screen was honestly so cool, so fun to watch, and definitely put her in a better spot than we thought after the journey she first took, like in the very beginning, the Sweat Savvy thing. I thought that was going to screw her game. But Teeny, knowing who she was, definitely helped her get into an alliance. But we find out that it didn't really go the way it looked like it was going to go after like episode one. Um, so yeah, we'll definitely get into it. So we'll start off going like tribe by tribe. So let's start off with coming back from tribal, the blue tribe. Uh, Sue is absolutely pissed off at Kyle for voting for her. She's taken it personally, and no matter what, she wants Kyle out next. I don't know. I feel like um, if that happened to me, I would absolutely be pissed at whoever wrote my name down. But taking it personal, I don't take it personally. It's a game, you know? It's a
Right.
game, but Sue definitely seems like the kind of person who would take it personally. But I don't think she'll do anything too rash to like ruin her position by like taking it personally. I think she'll just be like, I want him out next.
Yeah, I think I like Sue a lot, and I love Kyle. I want to put that out there. I love Kyle way more.
Love
Fun
Kyle.
fact, I think Kyle's gonna win. That's just me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But no, I do think Sue is taking it personal because, like you said, it is a game. But I would hate for anyone to write my name down as well, strictly because once they write your name down, they will feel comfortable writing it again. I
Yep.
do like Kyle's position and the game because he's so likable, and I feel like people are going to want to include him after getting rid of TK. They're going to see he's not crazy person. He's just the loyal guy who wanted to play with the majority which someone he thought was going to control that tribe, but he was wrong. He was blindsided, and now he's the only guy that wrote Sue's name left on the island. So of course, but I liked him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And not only do we like him, but Gabe does because he wants to keep Kyle around. He thinks that he's someone who's very trustworthy, who he thinks he can manipulate and will stay tribe strong going into a merge. So he wants to take out Tiana first. However, Kyle does not want to take out Tiana because Kyle feels the closest with Tiana. So he figures maybe if I bring some of this information to Sue and Caroline, I can get them on my side to vote out Gabe, and then he could retake control of this tribe. Uh, he tells Sue about how Gabe said he referred to Sue and Caroline as his goats. But Sue did not feel fazed by this at all. She was just so annoyed with Kyle and was like, there's no way that I am ever going to work with you again. And just completely disregards all the information that he's trying to give her. So it's not looking good right now for Kyle because if Sue wants Kyle out, then Caroline's going to vote with her. And that's already two votes out of the four votes that are going to be in this next tribal council if they go back, because we'll talk about this soon, but about the whole journey and Kyle losing his vote. So that is definitely uh, uh Kyle's definitely in a tough spot right now. And it's definitely unfortunate. He tried his best to, make a move and try to get himself in the majority. So I do respect his ability to try to get Sue and Caroline on his side, but he didn't anticipate how upset Sue would be about this vote again, cast against her.
Yeah. So one thing about Sue, she she shows her hand. It's so telling with her, right? Like if she don't want to be around you, she don't want to talk to you, she's going to let you know that.
Hmm.
And she's not here for Kyle's shit. And it's clear. And Kyle, you said it. He tried to make a move against Gabe because Gabe is being a snake. He's trying to play everyone. He's trying to, playing his game. Uh, I like Gabe's game as well. But at the end of the day, he played the idol and everyone, knew about that idol. I don't know if we're going to even go deep into that, but Gabe, he did say all the things that Kyle said. They should know Kyle by now. They don't have to trust everything he's saying, but at least he's coming to them, bringing them information about Gabe. I know it put him in a weird situation because Sue kind of shut him down, but I do believe Caroline will hear him out, and I do believe Tiana will hear him out. We're going to talk a little bit about this episode. I know it kind of messed him up, but I still think Kyle will be in a great position because he's a competitor. He's a likable guy. He's even kill. So only person that is going to be pissed off on that tribe and stay pissed off at him is Tsunami.
Tsunami, I love it. That's so funny. Yeah, I think Kyle is definitely the best competitor on the tribe. So if they need to keep him in for tribe strength, I could totally see that. However, I feel like most people thinking about long term and like the merge coming up and stuff like that, there's only two tribal councils, you most likely, unless there's some crazy twist, until Mergatory. And so you don't really need tribe strength that much in the next few votes. So I think at that point you want to focus on you're about to go into Mergatory. Who do you want there with you to help make alliances with other people from the other tribes to keep you safe and to be a number for you? And I think that Gabe is definitely playing this really well. I do think that it was smart of him to go up to Kyle and try to get that relationship back because Kyle does seem like a very loyal player. You could see that with TK. He said that, I don't know if this was just him now that he realized he was blindsided, he wanted to look a little cooler or whatever. But he was saying how like he thought it might end up going the other way, but he like had to stick with TK or something like that along those lines. Um, so he probably thought that TK might be going home, maybe, but wasn't 100% sure. And he ends up going home and he still votes with TK. So it shows how loyal of a player Kyle is. The problem with that is, uh, even though he is a loyal player, when you write someone's name down, you are willing to do it again. And the person who survives and got their name written down is the person who cares more about it probably than the person who survived and was not the name written down. Like Kyle, he's obviously going to be like, "Oh no, Sue, don't worry, I can work with you. Like I know I wrote your name down, but let's work together." But Sue, on the other hand, is like, "Well, I have the power now, and I don't want to work with you because you just tried to get me out." So I think that it's even though Gabe is doing the right thing, trying to get Kyle on his side and maybe trying to vote out Tiana, for the cohesiveness of the tribe, I think it would be a bad idea to keep Kyle around because then there will always be that Kyle and Sue duo that is just not going to jive with each other going into Mergatory, and that could really screw things up because they might not be the complete united four that Gabe wants them to be. So I don't, even though Gabe is thinking the right way, I don't know if it's necessarily the right move. If they do go to tribal, I think the best move for that three, Gabe, Caroline, and Sue, is to get Kyle out because Tiana seems, based on the last vote, with them. And I think that would be a tight four. But yeah, I do think Kyle is someone everyone would get along with. And I think Kyle going into a Mergatory would be able to make good relationships with other people to maybe get them to want to work with the Blue Tribe if he doesn't flip. he doesn't seem like someone who would flip. I understand that, so that's why Gabe is trying to get him pulled in. But if anyone's gonna flip on that tribe, it's gonna be Kyle. And so I don't know. If I was playing, I would still try to get Kyle out because he was the one blindsided on the last vote, and you already built trust with everyone else. Why ruin that?
Yeah. See, it's hard. But I agree with you, 1000% because I he was on the outs, and now you have to think everything he's saying is desperate. You can't really believe everything he's saying too much, so that's just from the player perspective. Me and you, we understand the game, but if you are a fan like we are as well, watching, we know he's telling the truth and he's a genuine guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's the more helpful player. We did see the first immunity challenge. Sue was the one that sat out and she had more leverage. But you did see Caroline, she didn't really want to even play with Gabe. Gabe offered the alliance with her, and she was kind of iffy about it until he showed
Hmm.
her that idol. He played the idol. So I don't think Gabe has Caroline like he does. I know Caroline and Sue is tight, and Kyle he does like Tiana. So I think the person who really is on the outs is Gabe, but they do love how hard he's working. He brought in Sue, so Sue is loyal to Gabe. So that's where the pull is. We can talk about this later on, but
Yeah, yeah. I feel like if Gabe does go home next, it will have been a a struggle, a Caroline struggle, and she would be the main person of the episode, main player of the episode, because she would be in the middle. It'd be Kyle and Tiana on one side, Sue and Gabe on the other, and it's all about Caroline deciding, do I blindside Sue or do I tell Sue that we want to go after Gabe? But then even then, will Sue even go along with it, or will she try to convince Caroline not to do it? And then will Caroline still go along with it, even though she told Sue, and now Sue seems like she's on the bottom? So it's definitely going to be like, does Caroline care more about not 100% trusting in Gabe or enough to break up the possible close alliance she has with Sue, or will she just stick with Gabe and Sue and vote the way that Sue wants? So that's really going to be what it comes down to if Blue goes back to tribal. I don't, based on the storyline, unless I'm reading it wrong, I do feel like they're all going to make the Mergatory. Um, I there's a chance maybe one more tribal, but I definitely know that at least four of them are going to make it. Um, it just seems so clear cut and like that Kyle would go home next, I feel like, unless they really want to spice things up and try to get Caroline, and Caroline would actually consider taking out Gabe. But I feel like for Caroline, the best move is to take out either Tiana or Kyle. And I think Caroline has a better grasp of Tiana than Kyle. I think the only person who probably thinks he has Kyle closer than Tiana is Gabe, but in reality, he doesn't because Kyle's trying to make a move on Gabe. So, and now with Kyle having the no vote, which we'll talk about very soon, definitely complicates things.
right.
So let's go over to the Yellow Tribe. We had the Yellow Tribe having some trouble sleeping at night. So Annika wants to spend the day um making the shelter better for sleeping, yet Sam wants to go looking for crabs and go fishing. So the entire day they're bickering back and forth with each other, obviously very annoyed by each other, and Andy says something so smart and it just shows how well he understands the game. And I'm so glad we're seeing more of this from him after what horrendous first episode we saw of him. Is he's saying how what people tell you is second tier data, but the best data is observing people's actions, and that can tell you a lot about the relationships on the tribe and the possible cracks on the tribe. And Andy sees this festering conflict between Sam and Annika, and even though he's on the bottom, this now gives him the ability to possibly put Sam against Annika going into the next tribal council, and this could help save him in this next vote. So I think he's definitely reading it very well. And he's right. Like, especially in like even these LRGs that we play, like something that can really help you out with knowing who is connected with who is when not only focusing on the conversations you're having, but seeing who's talking to who, the facial expressions they're having with who, and stuff like that. And this is kind of a similar thing that Andy's trying to do, and he's getting some really good data from this. And I think he is going to use this to his advantage. And I think if they do go to tribal again, he will be able to survive. And I think it will be a Sam versus Annika type situation. I do think it'll be more so a Annika versus Andy type situation where Sam now has to decide like, do I just take out Annika or not? And maybe Annika is like kind of annoyed by Sam for even considering voting her out. I don't know. But I don't think Annika would just outright go after Sam, especially because Annika knows that Sam has an idol. And she still, from confessionals she said in this episode, is trying to target Andy specifically. So I feel like if anything's going to happen, it's going to be Sam and Sierra turning on Annika. And I think that will be honestly a really exciting one to watch. I feel like they keep building it up to that's what's going to happen, Annika going home, but I don't think it's super clear cut and dry. I think that that would be a really fun tribal council to see play out, another yellow one.
Yeah, I love the Yellow Tribe. I love everyone, all the tribes, because, like you said, we got to see. Well, we said it before we started recording. We got to see all the tribes go to tribal this season.
Yeah,
I
first
love,
time in the new era.
yeah, and I love all the tribes, like especially with them getting rid of everyone so far, so it makes it hard, right? Annika and the Sam dynamic, it does seem real, like Andy said, because it's like the little things now. When you living with somebody 24/7, the little things piss you off. And and Andy, he knew he was on the bottom, but now he feels he's the swing vote, which is something that's true as well. So he broke down the pairs, Rachel, Annika, Sierra, and Sam, and he had to pick a side. He know Annika is the one who continue to boss people around, continue to be the one who is less likely to work with him. And he's right again about that. And because we see in the episode how Annika is trying to keep Andy in the dark about a lot of things.
Hmm.
And Andy picked the right side. I think he made a great connections with Sam early on. And Sam, he said last episode he was thinking about playing an idol on Andy. So if he
Yeah,
did do
I still
that,
think that that will possibly happen. I think it'll be like I think though they would have the majority anyway in the vote if they wanted to save Andy,
yeah, but he got it for one tribal.
but he has it for one tribal. So if he's going to use it, maybe knowing that he has Sierra on his side, he lets Sierra vote Andy out and then plays the idol and then it's a cool move, and Sierra now can still get information from Rachel, thinking that both of them are on the bottom, and then honestly, Sierra, Andy, and Sam are on in the majority. I think that could be an interesting situation to happen. That's probably what I would do in that situation to try to have at least one person as like a secret agent.
Yeah, it's hard to ask her to do that. I mean, it's not hard. It's really likely for her to do that because
Yeah.
yeah, you see how gullible she is. But at the end of the day, I just believe that she really wanna play with Sam, but she
Huh.
is tight with the girls, so she is going to be torn this next tribal council. Uh,
Especially because she doesn't really trust Andy 100%.
exactly. But I think the easiest thing, like you said, is to just write down Andy's name. Everyone wants Andy out. She's not 100% sure about Andy until he, a little bit spoiler, he showed her or he gave her a little bit of power or
Hmm.
whatever. But at the end of the day, she I mean, Sam is still on Andy's side. So he already said it that he don't want to be the last guy on this tribe. And he likes Andy. Andy strategized with him. He comes to him with information. Why would you want to even get rid of a number like that?
Exactly, 100%. And like you were saying, he did this whole episode was just so great by Andy. He just is showing how well he can play this game. He needed to get Sierra on his side. He knew that he didn't fully have Sierra and he needed to build something with him. And he kind of did what Gabe did with Caroline. He used some sort of advantage that he had in the game to um, get this other person to have a little bit more trust in him. And he said that he will give his shot in the dark to Sierra because Sierra is worried about the numbers. And if he thinks he's going home and plays his shot in the dark, then that's a lost vote for that alliance. And so Andy was like, so that you don't have to worry at all. And so you can trust me further, I will give you my shot in the dark so you don't have to worry about it. And we see in a confessional that Sierra said this is the kind of thing she was waiting for from Andy to help gain that trust. And so now I truly do think that there's a much higher likelihood of Sierra siding with Sam and Andy going into this next tribal. Will it happen for sure? I don't know. They keep making it so obvious that Andy's going to be safe that I could totally see it not happening, but I also feel like it's more so setting up the characterization of the Andy, Sierra, Sam trio that it's going to be still an intense tribal council, but ultimately I do think that Annika will probably go home and they'll just make it seem like Andy's still going home and then blindside the audience. That's what I'm feeling like would happen if they go to tribal. But yeah, I think Andy's playing this great, reading people as the first tier of data, and then giving the shot in the dark. He seems like he's in a good spot right now for being on the bottom of the tribe.
Yeah, so I seriously do love this tribe. I think that tribe has the strongest girls. That's just my argument for another time, I guess. But uh I know for a fact that Sam is a threat. He called himself the Wolf in Wolf Clothing. He's big. He has a tight relationship with Sierra. Everyone thinks they're dating. It's another spoiler. And
No,
at the end
yeah.
of the day,
Honestly, we could talk about that now too. Like, I mean, we'll talk about the journey in a second. But just something that did happen on the journey was the other tribes think that Sierra and Sam are dating, which I think is very funny, but also terrible for their game. This
mhm.
is going into the Mergatory. If one of them is vulnerable at the Mergatory vote, I could totally see them being targeted because of that if they aren't able to make close early relationships with other people from the other tribes. Um, I think they do have lovable personalities where they could easily integrate, and people could think of that as two extra votes to save them, especially at a time at the Mergatory where they don't want to be the Mergatory vote. They want to make it to the jury. So, in order to make it to the jury, they need to have good relationships early on. So, they could be like, hey, these are two votes to help save me for the next few votes. Let's work with them. Or they could be like, this is an easy first two votes. Let's just vote them out. And then we all make jury, and now we move on with the alliances we made. So it could be a good thing for them, but more than likely, I see it being a bad thing for them. Whoever, I feel like one of them will be safe at the Mergatory, one of them won't be. And I think the person who isn't safe could be in some trouble.
Yeah. I think the only person that isn't safe is the person who went on a journey. That's just me. I know Andy is on the bottom. I know everyone doesn't really trust him from his outbursts, and that's something I would not trust, especially early on, seeing him do that to First Immunity. But uh with Sam having the power, the most power on that tribe, he has to say. And the fact that he blatantly said to Sierra he doesn't want to be the last guy, I know for a fact he's going to make a move and try to save Andy. It's just clear. And it's not like it's a wrong move. I think it's a safe move just in case there's no tribe swaps, just in case they're together a little bit longer. Andy, he isn't a bad teammate. He isn't a bad tribe mate. So he is a good person to keep around in the challenges. But if he start, blatantly screaming they don't like me and shit like that, you got to get rid of him. But at the end of the day, he's a good person to hide behind, better than the duo of the relationships. I would rather get out Andy because the two people that is dating or that perceived as dating to all other tribes,
Mhm.
everyone's going to want to go after them instead of me. That would be my strategy. But
Yeah. And also
um,
thinking about it, I mean, we'll go into more detail about the journey, but Annika also loses her vote. So, and Sierra knows about this now because
Yep.
Annika told her. So, when thinking about this, if Annika doesn't have a vote, Rachel votes Andy, right? If Andy votes Annika, then now there's only two votes left, and that's Sam and Sierra. So they are the swing votes.
Yep.
However, if Sam is so dead set on keeping Andy, Sierra's got no option but to vote Annika out unless she wants to go to Rocks, which is ridiculous, especially when Andy has time after time told Sierra, I want to work with you and Sam. So it just now that maybe it would have been a little more interesting if Annika didn't lose her vote, but now that she has, unless Sam decides to vote out Andy, Andy is staying. Like at this point, it's not even Sierra who's the swing vote. It's Sam. It's whatever Sam wants to have happen, and he has the idol to make whatever he wants happen. So if they go to tribal again, Sam is going to be the main player of the episode, and it's all going to be, does Sam want to keep Andy or does Sam want to keep Annika? And it's all about the kind of same thing that Tiana was going through. Do you want to work with someone who you don't vibe with, uh, even though it might be a more stable alliance? Or do you go with someone who you think you can trust more, and that where someone you maybe vibe with a little bit more, but possibly you might not be able to trust 100%. So I think it's going to be that toss up. I do think he's going to go with saving Andy, but we won't know until we see what happens. Uh, so let's move on to the Red Tribe. Um, this is the tribe that went to tribal council, but let's talk about the stuff before we know they're going to tribal. Rome is using the fishing gear more than anyone else and catching majority of the fish, but when he catches them, nobody is doing anything to help him. He's getting really annoyed. The other people on the tribe are also just getting annoyed at him for always wanting to catch the fish and always wanting to show off. And he was like, "Oh, there's a shark in the water." And then he's just like, "Oh, we're gonna hear about this for the next 2 days." It's really funny, the whole Rome versus the tribe, like personality wise, but obviously that's different on a strategic sense. In terms of this whole situation, though, I feel like they're kind of both in the wrong. Like, I feel like Rome shouldn't be, spending all the time trying to catch fish, shouldn't be um overly like, I deserve all of this fish for myself because nobody else is helping, because I feel like that's not a great social move. I think, yes, everyone else on the tribe should be helping get all the stuff ready for him to cook this fish because he's out there working hard to get the fish while all of them are just sitting in the water doing absolutely nothing. Um, and so I understand that Rome does deserve to have more fish than the rest of them, but you can't do that. This is Survivor. You need to play the social game, and if you are preventing these people who are starving from eating, they're not gonna like you as much, even if you are in the right, which I think Rome is here. But I don't think he should have ate two things of fish. Luckily, it seemed like it was less of a problem than I thought it might be. It was only a problem to Asia, which Rome even said, like, why should I give you fish? You're not even in my alliance." Like, I thought that was really funny. And Rome is someone who, even though he's very chaotic, he is a loyal player, like so loyal to the point where he will let you know if he's not working with you. And that, I think, is both a good strategy and a bad strategy. I feel like it's a good strategy for like smaller tribes, but maybe for when they get to the merge, it might prevent people from wanting to work with that group because Rome is so chaotic. But if he's able to get in close with another tribe, maybe, um, and show his allegiance to that tribe, they might think, well, he is very passionate and very cocky and everything like that. However, he's a very loyal ally. So it could go both ways if he makes it to the merge, which at this point it seems like a guarantee.
I don't know, man. But look, so a question I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
before this. Would you travel to Rome or Asia? Just a funny joke. No,
I
but
love it.
all seriousness, I you said Rome should have more because he did do more of the work. I don't agree, strictly because he is the only person volunteering to swim. He's the only person volunteering to take the like this fishing gear. Everyone else is willing, but he's not willing. He's so like the dad and in control. So if you are this person that want to go do everything, you can't expect people to move when you say move. That isn't how the world works. But I do agree with you. The fire should like it should be like give and take. Like if you see me swimming,
Exactly.
help me out. Uh, but if you're gonna go out there and you were going out there out of anger, like, man, if I catch fish, this shit is for me. That's not fair.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're all on the same tribe, and you can paint a target on your back by everyone, not just Asia, by everyone, just because you spit on a player's back or you ate a whole fish, whatever the case may be. So
No, you're 100% right. He was like there were people who wanted to try to fish and he just was like, "Oh, the current's too strong. You shouldn't try it." Like or something like that. So people are trying to tr catch fish and he's not letting them, which again is another thing socially that he's doing wrong, that he should allow them to try, even
also,
though
my fault. Also, you said that he's very loyal. We don't know how loyal he is. We do know he talks a lot, and that's a difference. When you talk a lot, you give up so much information. It's like word vomit. He tells the right people the right things because he is working hard for these advantages and these clues and whatever the case may be. So they feel like they're forced to play with him, and by that, they feel like they have to align with him, and by that they're loyal to him. He feels like he's the man of that alliance, like he runs that alliance. But I do think he will flip on any of them. That's
yeah,
just my
so I don't necessarily think that the reason Teeny and Keyshawn want to work with him is because he's a super loyal player. I think it is because he has these advantages and it's kind of hard to work against these advantages. But whenever he has these advantages or inklings of information that he wants to share with people, he has told all of his allies and has said not a single word to his enemies. And
okay.
that's what I think shows the loyalty.
Would you be pissed if you told me you had an idol and I told someone else you had an idol without you even telling them?
Yes.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
at, exactly. So that's just one strike right there.
Well,
To
that was the teeny strike.
Yeah, that was a teeny strike, but that the clear indication that everyone isn't really with you. And then if you go to the water and complain about everyone that isn't helping you, that was Teeny, Rome, Keyshawn, and Asia in that water, all four of them. And he was talking about them to Genevieve. He was remember he's like, oh, I'm just made different, like yada yada yada. But he was talking about those four sitting in the water, and two of those people he thought was his alliance member. So at the end of the day, he is flexing his powers out of fear. He's making them want to play with him because it's a power move. But I do think a lot of them don't really want to play with him. They're loyal to him because the powers that he have. But like I told you earlier this week, I don't think the move that they made was the right move. But we're going to talk about that a little
Right,
later.
yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, you're right. I do see like right now he seems like he's extremely loyal to them, but if he gets any sort of inkling that they're trying to make a move against him, he will turn on them so quick. And I think that's the same for like honestly anybody. Like I remember with the Yellow Tribe, I think in 45, how uh it seemed like Sabaya, Sean, and Caleb were going to be so tight. The tightest three, all of them were so loyal, preaching their loyalty in every single confessional. And then they decide to target Caleb, when I thought Sabaya and Caleb were like this super tight duo. So like you never know. Like you could be a very loyal player, but then it gets to a point in the game where you're like, I have to make a move. Like Kenzie and Tiffany were so close, and Kenzie's like, I think I need to make a move on Tiffany this round. And meanwhile, Kenzie is a very loyal player, but she thought she had to make a move. So you could be a very loyal player, but Survivor can throw something at you where you end up turning on one of your allies because you think it's the best move for you, And I think Rome is always going to be thinking, what is the best move for me, or what is a big move? Like, oh, like if I make a big move on my resume, let me get out one of my closest allies, and then everyone will respect that. And then he could turn on them even after being loyal. So I totally see what you're saying. Rome is definitely a wild card. Right now, it seems like he's a loyal player, but it could change at any moment depending on the cards that are dealt. So we'll see how that goes, especially at Mergatory, because if everyone just doesn't like Rome's attitude and is also as annoyed as everyone else is living with him, I could see him being like a Bruce where they're all like, all right, we got to get him out. We got to get him out.
All right,
Um,
my last question. Who do you think Rome's closest ally is on that tribe?
you know, it's hard because you would think it's Genevieve, just based on Keyshawn and Teeny being so close. But I feel like Genevieve is just going to be, I think Genevieve is going to be the Mergatory boot. And that's why we're getting like literally nothing from her. Like we got maybe one confessional from her, and her tribe went to tribal council, and she was in the majority. Like it just makes no sense while we're getting nothing from Genevieve. So I don't think we'll ever really find out if Rome's closest ally was Genevieve or not. But based on the edit, it's seeming like Rome's closest ally is Teeny. Because every single bit of information Rome has, the first person he wants to tell is Teeny. So it seems like Rome's closest ally is Teeny, but based on the duos in this tribe, it seems like Rome and Genevieve would be the duo, but I don't think it's necessarily coming off like that. Like I feel like if they were the disaster tribe and they went down to four and they got out Soul, I feel like Rome would turn on Genevieve and Genevieve would turn on Rome. And I think Keyshawn and Teeny would still be in that swing vote position. Um, so that's my feeling on that. But
All right, that was it.
we won't really know and it unless they gave Genevieve more of an edit.
All right.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I do think Genevieve is his closest ally, and he does come to Teeny with the most information. I do think it's because Teeny is somebody that continues to play the game. She takes it upon herself to, come to him. Like after the journey, we keep talking a little bit about the journey, but after the journey, she said, "So was that really everything?" Or she was the one that came to him. And then, like in the middle of the night, yeah, he was like waking Teeny up. So at the end of the day, you would think his closest allies is Genevieve based on the pairs because we know from the viewer standpoint, Genevieve Teeny's closest ally is Keyshawn. And we know Soul closest ally might have been Asia. And Genevieve, you would think his closest ally is Tyrone, but you know, you never know because like they're not showing Genevieve, like you said, and it's so hard to take a read on her. But I like I said earlier this week or a little bit to you, I think the people you think is close to Rome, you should take a shot at based off of the powers he do have, because he's going to have to play everything that he has, so he's going to be vulnerable anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. So, we've been talking let's bits and pieces about this journey.
There you go.
Let's have a deep dive into this journey. Um, First thing that I saw, which made me start dying laughing, was Rome so happy about TK being voted out because of how cocky and arrogant he was. It was like he hates people like that. I'm like, you literally
Oh,
are that. You are
that's the pot
cocky.
calling the
You're
kettle black.
arrogant. It was so ironic that he said that. It was honestly very funny, and I'm glad that happened so that they could put that in the episode after all of these confessionals from Rome.
Survivor Rome.
So it's Survivor Rome at this point, you know? Um, and then we talked about Sam and Sierra being thought of as a couple, which definitely could be tough for them, but it could also be good for them. Like so, honestly, the way I approach games, LRGs and Survivor, is if I know two people are a pair, if they are someone I get along with, or at least I want to work with one of them, I will not try to target the other one. I will try to work with both of them because that's two numbers that I have behind me. Um, However, if it's two people that I don't want to work with, then I'll target them as a duo. But I feel like if you vibe with them, you should not target them just because they're a duo. You should use them to your advantage. So if they seem like people who get along with a lot of people. They are the swing votes in the yellow tribe. So anybody who can be a swing vote in a small tribe obviously has the ability to get along well with people. And so I could see them actually being used as a duo rather than targeted. But I don't know. It all depends on the relationships that happen at Mergatory.
Do you think it was smart for Kyle to blatantly ask Annika that question at the Mergatory? Because I think that that was something he should have kept to himself and just brought back a lie and said that they are dating or anything like that, whatever they're messing around or whatever. I would never ask her that because you know she's going to come back to her tribe with that information. So that whole tribe, whoever stays or goes, are going to be on alert with everyone from the blue tribe. That was the one. Two, I know for a fact that the red tribe, they even agreed. So once that's in the air, now everyone is on alert. So that is going to make the yellow tribe go back, to figure out to like how to play the game against everyone else. And that
Right.
just
I
helped them
uh, I
out.
think the reason Kyle did that was not necessary. Well, I think it was half curiosity and the fact that, oh, I'm finally getting to talk to somebody on the other tribes.
Right.
And I think the other half might have been gameplay because
Yeah.
if you're telling this to Annika, because he even said in his confessional that his tribe assumed that Sam is the one running the tribe, and you can't run the tribe unless you have someone else in your back pocket as a close alliance member. So that makes sense why those two would be running the tribe. So their tribe, the blue tribe, expects that those two are the ones running this tribe. So if you could tell that to Annika and she's like, wow, the red tribe and the blue tribe both think that they're running this tribe, maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Maybe I should try to take a shot at one of them. So I
Right.
think he might have been saying this to try to make some cracks happen in the yellow tribe, and to try to help them at the merge so that like, oh, like maybe yellow wants to turn on each other after learning this information that, oh, like everyone thinks that they're the ones running the tribe. So I could see it being that and as well as curiosity. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad move that he said it because everyone's thinking it anyway. It was going to come out at the Mergatory anyway. And it's not like he said, I think this. He said, my tribe thinks it. So at least he's not singling himself out like, oh, wow, Kyle thinks this. We should target Kyle at the Mergatory.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. So this journey game is probably my least favorite out of all of them.
Right.
You should always have a decision. You can make it so that the decision is so obvious that you should try to go for the advantage. You can make like, oh, um, I don't even know what you could do, but like make it so that it's not so obvious, like, oh, let me not risk my vote, or maybe make it like 50-50 chance instead of two-thirds chance you're going to lose your vote or something like that, or like two-thirds chance you're going to get an advantage and one-third that you're going to lose your vote. So it actually makes you want to try it. But you should always have a choice to make. You shouldn't be forced to have a 67% chance of losing your vote. I think that's so dumb. And this ended up happening for two of them, Kyle and Annika, who all the people who went on the journey were the people who, by the rest of the tribe, were perceived as on the bottom or annoying or a possible next vote out. So it was definitely uh good that at least one of them was going to get an advantage because that really was going to shake up the game for whichever tribe that was from. But then the other people who are already at a disadvantage, probably going to be one of the next boots, now has an even more of a disadvantage. And this actually results in probably less exciting tribal councils coming up.
Yeah, I know it was hard to see that challenge. I don't really agree with you too much right there because I do think that they had a choice when they wanted to go on that advantage. Like I didn't initially like the challenge because like why would you let people like just dig in the bag and lose their vote? I think that's stupid. But a lot of them like Rome, he really forced himself to go on that tribe. like we did see like Sierra and her tribe, the yellow tribe, I mean, rock, paper, scissors, shoe, and we start, everyone they actually
Actually,
wanted,
Annika asked guys, "Can I go?"
and
And
that's
then
another
everyone was
thing. Like
like, "Okay, sure."
if
And
you ask and you like, are adamant about going on this journey, guess what? You gotta do what the journey says at this point. And the journey says stick your hand in the bag, stick your hand in the bag. You lose your vote, do it again. That's what I would have did because
yes, that was another thing I wanted to ask you, which I have a very like I have a specific answer that I definitely would do. If you lost your vote, would you stick your hand back in and risk losing it for two back-to-back tribals to now have a 50-50 shot at getting an advantage?
so yeah, you know me, I'm Wild West. I would be down for whatever. Once I lose my vote, right? They both lost their vote and they were both scared to do it again. Now you have 50-50 chance. So after you lose your vote and you want to stick your hand in and do it again, let's say you lose it again, right? Now you lost two votes. Do you go back to your camp? You tell them that you don't know until you go back to try until you go to tribal if you lost your vote or not. That's what I would use. And they find out that you lost your vote, but now there's not even a possibility that you're going to see that second tribal until a while. You might be at the second tribal with a bunch of people. So if you do lose both votes, the first one is the only one that's scary. The first one is the only one you need to worry about. Clearly, votes are a huge currency in Survivor, but you know, who's thinking you're going to lose two votes on the journey? Everyone's probably thinking you're lying anyway. So play the game. I'm definitely like going for it. That was the easiest thing for me to do. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
I
game to play. There's no nothing. All I gotta do is just stick my hand in.
exactly. I 100% am with you. If that was me, I would put my hand back in and I would go for the advantage because there's there's two possibilities generally on where you could be in your tribe. You're either on the bottom or you're on the top. If you're on the top, you have the numbers anyway, so losing your vote is not a big deal. If you're on the bottom, you're probably getting voted out next. You need this advantage. So either way, you should be going for this advantage because you're either already in the numbers and having an advantage just gives you that much more of an advantage in the game, or you're probably going home and you need this advantage. So either way, I would have definitely tried to go for it again. And like you said, at this point in the game, maybe this is different for Rome because he had to go to tribal that time. But you know that Mergatory is coming up soon, and the time you would probably go to your second tribal council where you lose that second vote might be the Mergatory vote, where there's 13 votes. So it's really not that big of a deal, probably, unless it's a super close Mergatory vote, which we usually don't have. Um, you're probably not even going to need that vote anyway. And no one's going to know you lost it because majority is going to be on one person. So I think that the the hardest one to want to do is the first one. But once you've lost your vote already, the second one should be such an easy decision. And I don't know why Annika and Kyle didn't pull through on that, especially Kyle, because Kyle knows how close Sue and Caroline are. And if he knows that Sue is not even fazed by him getting told that Gabe thinks of her as a goat, then Kyle should probably be like, Sue probably doesn't want to work with me. And that could possibly mean Caroline doesn't want to work with me. And so, unless Gabe wants to turn on Caroline and Sue, which doesn't seem likely, and I think Kyle can probably figure that out based on the way Kyle was talking about them, because that Gabe was talking about them, because Gabe was telling Kyle how he wants to work with Caroline and Sue to get out Tiana. I think Kyle should know I'm in trouble. Like I'm probably going home next, if not next, soon afterwards. So he should have risked it and tried to get an advantage to help him out because then he could leverage that with Sue and Caroline saying like, "Hey, I have an advantage. Let's work together." Um, so I think it was stupid for Kyle. I think Annika thinks she's in a great spot where I understand why she wouldn't want to put her hand back in, but she doesn't realize that she's actually on thin ice and could possibly be the next boot. But then Rome gets an advantage on the first time. Of course, it's Survivor Rome. Like he has to get an advantage. So he gets not only an advantage, but one of the best non like safety advantages in the game, the steal a vote, especially huge for being in a tribe of six. So I think that's awesome that he has this advantage. He lies to everyone saying that he lost his vote for the next tribal council, and then tells his alliance of Tini, Kashan, and Genevieve that he does have this steal a vote. And Teeny, as a result, is saying how she pretty much has no choice but to work with Rome because Rome has all these advantages, and it's better to work with the advantages than against these advantages, which I totally understand that. It does make sense. But the thing that you have to decide is it worth having these advantages on your side to have an ally like Rome who is so chaotic and so unlikable that it might prevent them from getting allies at the Mergatory, which definitely is tough, and definitely having to steal a vote will help at a Mergatory situation or help just in the merge in general. But having Rome there compared to having Asia and Seoul is tough because I feel like they would probably be able to make easier connections with people with Asia and Seoul than with Rome. What do you think about that?
My fault. I'm sorry.
There you go.
No, so I do think Rome is lucky, but I do think Rome is playing the game really hard. So like the hardworking man is the person that who's going to get rewarded every time. You're going to get a target on your back, but you might find an idol. And he found an idol. And now let's just say Rome was the one who lost his vote. You think he wouldn't have risked this again and put his hand in? I think he would have put his hand in again. So for him to
Absolutely.
exactly. So for him to have that still a vote, it comes into like it makes sense, right? And now he comes back with so much power, and that is a great advantage to have, like you said, other than the idol. I do think him telling people, sorry, telling people is kind of like bad for his game, but it's good for his game too because they know he have it and he know he has to play these things at a time limit. Like, well, not the still a vote, the
Hmm.
idol, but this the still a vote. It's two people who he hasn't told. It's two people who are in the dark that don't know he have it, and now he has a limited amount of options to take anybody's. It's not even just the two. So I think it's a good play to tell people because they know he have it. But I do think it's bad for them to know because now they know how to work against it.
Yeah, and but what do you think about Teeny wanting to keep Rome in this game and work with him rather than maybe going after Genevieve because now you have these advantages working with you, but you're going into the Mergatory with Rome, who is disliked by everyone on the tribe pretty much. So is it worth it to go to have a tight alliance with Rome and have this advantage for your alliance, but then maybe people will be less likely to want to work with Red because of Rome's personality, other compared to not having an advantage, but having Asia and Seoul to go into the merge with, where they probably will be able to make connections better and put the Red tribe in a better position.
Sorry, my dog was barking.
Are you
Uh,
good?
I don't think it was a bad move to want to work with Rome because he's a great person to hide behind. But I do think that's the scared move to do to want to hide behind him strictly because Rome is somebody who's going to continue to be everyone's target. Not just the red tribe, like future the game that people are all going to target Rome because that's who he is. But I do think, like I said, it was a scared move to want to just take the easy route based off of the advantage he have. You can play the game and just know what he have. Now you know how to you got to maneuver against it. Like Chini was the only one that knew everything. She knew he had to play the Idol One tribal, and she knew he had that still a vote. So, like I said to you earlier this week, I think the best move was for her to get Keyshawn and Aja, those three, all three of them, they throw votes on let's say Rome or Genevieve, and the two of them throw votes on Genevieve and Soul, and what who did Teeny vote for? Soul?
Teeny voted for Soul.
Yeah. So Soul and Teeny, let's say them two vote for Rome. Even though Teeny's playing with Rome, it's just like it's a smoke screen play. No one's going to know that it was her. So those two vote for Rome. Those other two vote for Genevieve. Genevieve vote for Asia, and Rome vote for Asia. They go to Rocks. I know it's 2-2-2. Rome, did he vote for Asia? Yeah, he did. He drew to Asia. So
Well, here's the thing. They know about the idol, so it wouldn't go to Rocks. It would go to a revote,
that was perfect.
which
So
is yes,
so
100%. I think that the 2-2-2 vote split, if you really wanted to work with Asia and Saul, would have been the right move
because
because
because like only reason I think that's the right move, because now he played his idol, and now the next vote, like let's just say God forbid they go to tribal next round. Now he has to play his still a vote, and he only taken away somebody else's vote, and now it's 3 versus 2, and they can still they have the majority against him. That's why I
yep.
think that was the best move, because he's already hard to play with. He's already controlling. And at the end of the day, he's only really willing to give information to certain players. And two players are on the outs, and those other two are working with everyone else. It's like, why not? Why not just go against them? But
Yeah,
they it's
it was honestly it was because of the advantage that Teeny and Keyshawn wanted to work with the advantage. They wanted this steal a vote on their side to go into the merge with so that they could use that to their advantage if they are at a numbers disadvantage or to make a big move. So I think they obviously kind of like what we were talking about, what we thought was more important. I think they Teeny and Keyshawn just thought that having this steal a vote in their back pocket is more important than having Rome as an ally going into the than not having Rome as an ally going into the merge.
because let's just say Rome found out that he was playing, that Teeny and Keyshawn was playing with Asia and Seoul. You don't think he would get pissed about that? Like he would probably be pissed that Asia, I mean that Teeny told, I would have thought if I was Rome, I would think Teeny told them about my advantages, just like she told Keyshawn. So now I can't really trust Teeny too much. Even though Teeny knows everything, now I might have to just steal Teeny's vote. I don't know. But the thing is, Rome is playing hard. Like we know that. We see that. And he's somebody that is willing to continue to paint a target on his back. And people are like, as soon as he find an advantage or find a clue, people are going to continue to want to work with him. So I think it's like a double-edged sword working with Rome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Also, if you take out Genevieve here and Rome stays until the merge, Rome is flipping so quick and is gonna say so many awful things about his tribe, and so I think that could be also something Teeny was thinking about. Like, I'd rather work with him than against him because I can't get him out right now. I have to target Genevieve. And if he stays, he's going to go crazy. One, he's going to be looking for an idol constantly. So if he does find the idol, then now he's safe again, and they have to turn on each other. And now they lose another number going into the merge. So just, I think Rome was just so unpredictable to the point where it's better to work, do the safer route and work with him so that nothing crazy happens because if you upset him and he's now on the bottom, even though he doesn't have the numbers, if he finds an advantage or if he makes it to the merge, he could cause some chaos for you. And I don't think Teeny wanted any of that. Or and Kishan. Um, yeah, so then now we're going into the immunity challenge. Not much to say for the immunity challenge. Teeny and Andy did terrible in that challenge. It was really going to be one of their tribes probably losing. But Andy's tribe did so well on the puzzle, came back and ended up getting first place in that challenge, which was awesome. Unfortunately, Red Tribe did end up getting last place, going to tribal council. I also think it's interesting that Genevieve was trying to look for an advantage on the sit-out bench, and there wasn't one, but this is something that I am very passionate about, that I think that Survivor should bring back an advantage on a sit-out bench. I think it makes it very exciting to watch the challenge. I think it makes these players be aware of their surroundings and try to play hard. So I want them to bring it back. I want them to hide something at a challenge on a sit out bench or in a challenge. I think it would be a lot of fun. What do you think about that?
Uh, I only thing I do, well, I wouldn't put an advantage at every challenge because every season people will be looking for it. And we seen last season that, um, or a couple seasons back, it was this one girl, Claire, who kept sitting out every time. So I think that it's a bad move to put it on a sit out bench every time because someone's going to always be willing to look. But I did like that Survivor shown that they were strategizing before the challenge. I think that was different. We didn't ever see how any of the players wanted to pick the areas of the challenge that they wanted to go. We seen how adamant Rome was. He said, "If I don't go, I'm going to be mad." Like I'm really good at this. And Andy goes like, "I'm good at everything." Like, and I think this look and it shows like like me and you, we play these games, so we want to like pick and choose where you want to go, and then other people might be mad. Like you seen Soul and Rome right then and there have a disagreement. They were kind of pissed at each other. So I
Yeah.
did love that they shown that tension. But overall, I didn't really care too much about the challenge because, like you said, Andy and Teeny didn't do too well.
Yeah, right, right. Um, and speaking of Andy, you're friends with Andy, right?
Yeah, I'm more closer to Teeny, but yeah, I'm friends with Andy. I know Andy, so yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. Yeah. All right, because you played in, so I was saying in one of my past podcasts that I played in competitive events, a Survivor LRG, and Teeny also played in that LRG, just a different season, but she played in your season. So you actually were aligned with Teeny, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's funny. I played with you in our both of our first LRG competitive events.
Hmm.
Then I ended up making it to All Stars, showing it was terrible. But then my last game was with Chini, and she infiltrated our alliance. It was an all J's alliance, and she was the only T. So it was all T's and Janie, T and Janie alliance, or whatever, T and J or Teeny. And she did great. I love Teeny. She got a special place in my heart because we did play together, and she made it on the island. I'm cheering for her, and I know her tells now just because you know the thing she said to me. She knew me before playing. And she came to me like, "Hey, I was a fan of you once upon a time. I couldn't wait to play with you." And I see her say that to Asia. I kind of had a feeling that she wasn't going to play with Asia the whole time because she's a Survivor fan as well. So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's like I said to you a while back. Remember, I think me and you talked. This is a little bit of off game talk. You said if I knew you ever before playing, you should always want to play with me because I'll be loyal to you. And I said, for me, I was like, if you know me, I'm gonna go after you because like that means you think you know my game. And then like at this point, I can't trust you. So it's always like weird. And I think
Mhm.
teams to that point, like, look, I know people like to an extent, but I know all of us are going to play the win. And it just got weird later on in the game for her.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So we get back, we start strategy for tribal. And there was a bunch of stuff going on, but the most important things to hit on was Teeny convincing Rome to vote for Seoul because he's more likely to find an idol compared to Asia. And Rome was like, "Wow, that is a good point because Rome is going to play the idol. Now there's going to be an idol out there, and Rome is going to be," he said, he's going to be middle of the night looking for this idol. He's going to be looking like crazy, and he definitely wants less competition. So it makes sense why he would want to take out Saul instead. Um, but it turns out that it doesn't end up going that way because Teeny still wants to work with Asia. So her and Kashan tell Asia about Rome's idol, that he's going to play it for him or Genevieve. So the safer option is to just go with Seoul. But Asia refuses, says, "I will not vote Seoul. I'm only voting Genevieve. I want Genevieve out. I do not want to work with Rome." And this makes Keyshawn and Teeny realize that they might not be able to work with her if she's not willing to adapt when there's other options out there, especially when they made it seem very clear that Keyshawn and Teeny wanted to go the route of voting Saul. So if you already know that your allies want to vote that way, it's probably unlikely that you're going to be able to convince them otherwise. You should probably just go with them because they were kind of saying how, you know, we made sure it wasn't you in a way without actually saying we made sure it wasn't you. Um, so I mean, if I know that if I'm under the impression that Teeny and Keyshawn are with me, I would be open to saying, yeah, I don't want to vote Saul. Like, let's all vote for Genevieve. Like, this should be easy. Um, but I don't think that she really understood that they were more with Rome and Genevieve than what was led on. So Asia did make a mistake, but I do think that it wasn't an obvious one. I think it's a more hindsight's 2020 type of mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't tell everybody everything. And like we all see that Keyshawn and Teeny are tight to the hip, so they're the only ones that are playing the middle. They could have picked the Asia and Saul, or they could have picked, the Genevieve and Rome. And I think they picked, like we already said, the Rome Genevieve because Rome has the power. Uh yeah, I do think that all four of them still could have put votes on Genevieve and have Rome alone because the only thing now he has is one advantage, and that would have been a still a vote after the idol play. But he's coming to Teeny with information every time. So Teeny feels like, you know what? If I'm going to continue to learn information from Rome, if he's going to
Mhm.
keep playing hard and keep painting a target on his back and he keep coming to me, telling me the things that he have, I might as well keep him in the game. And if he don't want out if he wants out Asia or Seoul, I kind of can't vote with them. You know what I'm saying? She liked Asia and she liked Rome. I mean, she liked Asia and she liked Seoul, but I think she went after the person she wanted out least.
Yeah, for sure. And then now we get to tribal council, and Asia signals something to Seoul. I wonder what it was. I definitely don't know if it was said on like a uh, interview or something with her. Definitely curious about that, but I don't know what they were signaling to each other, but pretty much she says how um, she hopes that the person who said that they would vote with her follows through. And I think that was specifically for Teeny. And unfortunately, that didn't end up happening. What I thought was also interesting, and I want to hear if you think this was smart or if this like didn't really matter. Keyshawn says that the core four is going to stick together in this vote. So why did he say that out loud? Now whoever is on in the bottom, whoever was blindsided by this vote is going to know that there's a core four and knows that they're on the bottom. So they're going to probably play their shot in the dark. It could possibly fall on them if something goes awry. I don't think it was smart to say that there's a core four. What do you think?
I mean, originally watching it the first time, I didn't think it was smart, but watching it again, I actually thought that was a smart play because let's think about it. Teeny and Keyshawn, they're playing with everybody. And everybody that they're playing with is it a four. So they when they play with Rome, that Genevieve's come with that. And then and if they play with Asia, Soul comes with that. So for him to say that, everyone thinks they're the core four. It's not like they made a name up. So whoever's left out of the vote, that's going to be the one person that they have to go after. I think Keyshawn is treading on like thin ice now because you know him and Teeny didn't vote together. But other than that, it's like I liked it after the fact because I'm like, you know what, that's messy as hell. Everyone started looking like, who's the core four? Like, what the hell is that? But
Mhm. I
I
also
think
think it could be interesting because we see what happened in what was it? I think it was 46, where the Green Tribe was sticking loyal to each other and showing how loyal they truly were, and that resulted in them getting targeted. when obviously Mariah was on the bottom. So I think it could be interesting saying that there's a core four, and let's say you don't go to tribal again and you make it to the merge to make sure you get further in the game, you could sacrifice your own. Because if everybody, all the other tribes are like, oh, well, these four people on this tribe are okay with seeing one of their own go, that seems like an easy vote. Let's do that. We protect everyone on our tribe and they get rid of someone on their tribe. So I think that could be an interesting play where if they if that person is so on the bottom and the five of them get to the merge, if Soul is in the mergatory vote vulnerable, and so is some other people on the red tribe, they could try to throw him under the bus to protect themselves.
Yeah. I just know it's a bunch of cracks. It's like a whole lot of cracks. After every vote, you see a lot of people getting votes. So you know that everyone isn't on the same page. Um, and it's okay because that's the game. I love that everyone is voting together, and I love that everyone is up for grabs when you go to tribal. That's what I love because everyone should be scared. So that's the game. I do love the fact how hard Rome is playing, but I hate how Soul now is on the outs because we end up finding out, I don't know if we should say, but Asia goes. And once she goes, Rome, he's the last person, that he's the only person that wrote Rome's name down. So it's like now people want to go after the person who's on the outs, and he clearly isn't in that core four now. But I think he's level-headed enough to talk to the other players. It's just goes back to Rome, him being bossy, him really don't really want to deal with the players he don't want to deal with. He don't want to like just hear people out, play the game. It like he was blatantly lying to Soul. Soul even called him out, like, is there a chance that you could be lying to me? And I mean, why would I do that if I don't have a vote? But then he ended up saying in the same breath or the same sentence, like, wouldn't it be funny if I wrote Asia, like, or drew the whole continent Asia? I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like clearly no one's going to believe how messy you are. You come back with these crazy stories, but it's because you playing hard. You have these idols, and you have these advantages. So
Yeah. And also, so with the way the vote went down, well, first of all, Rome plays his idol on himself, and he says that he got the idol for on a journey as a one tribal idol, which is honestly so smart because
yeah,
now Soul does not know that he has the steal a vote that he got on the journey. He thinks that's the idol. So I think that was a great move by Rome to say that because obviously it was going to come out that he had a vote. Um, and so one vote on Rome does not count, one on Genevieve, one on Seoul from Teeny, and then three on Asia. So the fact that Rome got a vote and Genevieve got a vote, I think that the plan was what we were talking about, the 2-2-2 vote split. I do think that it was probably girls on Genevieve, guys on Rome, and Teeny and Keyshawn just didn't end up voting that way. And I think that in case a shot in the dark was played, that's why Teeny ended up voting for Saul. So I think it was smart gameplay on both sides. I think both plans were the best strategic moves for that side. It just ended up being Teeny and Keyshawn going with Rome and Genevieve. And then Asia points to Kishan and Teeny and says, that really hurts. I'm not going to lie. I love when something like that happens. It wasn't like her just yelling at them and being so pissed off, but like seeing something where it's not just like, oh, you guys got me. Like, I hope you guys do great. Like, we always seem to get that like every single time. And to see someone say something at Tribal being like, wow, I feel betrayed. Like, I like that. So I thought that
he
was cool
goes,
that Asia did that.
good luck. Yeah, I agree, man. Like I love this season so far. It's like going great.
Oh yeah, it really is. And so now we got scenes from the next episode. Um, Andy is Survivor George Costanza. I mean, we kind of knew that already, and it's going to be funny to see those clips. Rome yells at Soul, saying he doesn't have to leave him alone. It's Survivor. Um, This scares me about Rome. Like you gotta like I understand that you're not in an alliance with him, but like chill out, dude.
He's so controlling. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. He don't let who was in the middle of that? Was it Teeny?
I don't remember exactly, but
Yeah,
I do know that
it was a third person.
there was a third person, and I also understand that the whole reason why Soul is saying he wants a minute alone is because Soul is trying to find the idol, and Rome is not letting him, which is smart. You should not, you should follow him around and make sure you know if he has an idol or not, but
Why not trust
be
the
a little
people you're
nicer
praying
about
with?
it. Don't yell at him.
Exactly. Like what again, why like I said to Rome or to Rome to you about Rome, how come Rome just can't trust some of his idol or his mates, his alliance that he's playing with? Like whoever was in the middle could have just, been the spy that time on Soul. Because at this point, you know you're gonna go look for the idol. If Soul gonna go look for idol, you go look for the idol. But if that other person's with Soul, you're gonna get the information. You're gonna know, and you clearly don't want him to play it, but guess what? You have that still a vote. So it's like, why are you being a dick about it, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly. And then we have Tiana and Caroline find Sue, and there is blood everywhere. And I think there is a never before. I think there was like a clip from the next episode which showed something having to do with it, or maybe there was a commercial, a Survivor commercial I saw or something. But I do realize that the blood everywhere is not Sue about to get medevaced and like literally dying. It's a beware advantage task. So I'm pretty sure Sue finds the beware advantage that Gabe, after
wait,
Gabe played the idol, it came back into play. So we'll see how that all pans out. But I think everyone's gonna know she has it because she obviously
you
didn't
gonna come
hide the
back no
blood very
cuts.
well.
Man, I love so I mean I love Sue the most, like on that try right now. I mean I love Kyle the most, but Sue is a clear target for me. If I was on that tribe, it's not because she's old, but if we're gonna go for tribe strength, than it is because she's old. Strictly because the first tribal that they went to, she had a whole lot to say, but she wasn't even in the challenge. Like I said, she didn't even compete in she was the one sitting out. And now, she did help the tribe win. She did carry her own, but now she's out here searching for goddamn beware advantages. Come on now. Like
Love it.
everyone's gonna want to carry you to the end. That means you're in someone else's spot. We already got all these other people that we want to hide behind. Rome, we want to hide behind. We want to hide behind these duo as a couple. Now we got to hide behind the older lady who that everyone think they could beat. Hell no. Like someone got to get cut, and I think Tsunami got to go.
Love it. So, okay, so let's do rapid fire. I want to hear your opinion on who is your winner pick, who is the next out of red, the next out of blue, the next out of yellow. Go.
Winner pick. I said it already. It's hard to continue to say this because he just lost his vote, but it's going to be my boy KO Kyle. I forget his last name. Begin with an O though.
Hmm.
Kyle, the first out of each tribe, yellow. I'm gonna go with yellow first. I think Annika goes. I hate to say it, but sh all arrows are pointed at her. Since me and you just broke it down. Um, blue. All right now. So let's just say Sue, she found that beware advantage and she has an idol, and Gabe is the one that is, spreading, he's the one making people think harder because he's the one playing the game. So I could think Tiana could maybe go after him with a cow, but I do think Kyle came back to his tribe and told them they lost his vote. So that's an easy, like, that's an easy for them to go after Kyle. That's the scary thing. But I am going to go down with him as winning. So I'm gonna say Gabe is going next because those girls all want to go girl strong. It
Hmm.
sucks to see, but I think they will flip and go on Gabe. And the next for Red, it sucked to say it, but I think it's gonna be Soul.
Yeah. All right. So for me, my winner pick, She has not done anything to change my mind. So until she absolutely blows up her spot and is so obviously not going to win, I'm riding with her the rest of the season. My winner pick is Sierra. Um, I think she's in a great spot right now. I think Sam will be targeted before her. And I think she's very likable and will be able to make great relationships with the other side. I don't think people will perceive her as much of a threat, yet I think she will have good enough relationships to make the moves she needs to towards the end of the game to have a good resume. Um, for each tribe, I think from red, it's Saul. I think from yellow, it's Annika. And from blue, even though it seems pretty clear cut, I think this might be the one I don't really know for sure. My personal guess is going to be Kyle as being the next one out. But I could also see Tiana going home, and I can also see them not going to tribal again. I'm more leaning towards they don't go to tribal again, and all five of them make it to the merge, is my guess. But if they do go to tribal again, I feel like it's going to be hard for Sue to budge. And I think Caroline and Gabe would be silly to go against Sue right now, especially because that's their closest allies in the game. So I'm thinking Kyle, Sol, and Annika as the next ones out of their tribes, unless something crazy happens. But you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jay West, for hopping on to recap this episode. I had so much fun talking about it, and I hope to have you on another one coming up soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Always love talking Survivor with my boy Lupo. Uh, watch him tonight on the challenge. And yeah, well, whenever this comes out, watch the challenge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely check out on YouTube the Caucus Challenge Season 17, Episode 3 is out this week. So definitely, if you haven't started watching it, go watch from the beginning. And if you have, definitely check out Episode 3. You are gonna love watching this season. So definitely check it out. Check it out on Dre Media's YouTube page. Or you can see it both. I'll post some stories on Tribal Lines Pod Instagram account and my own personal account, Stephen Lupo 9. So definitely go follow me too. All right. So thank you so much, Jay West, and we'll see you guys next time for the episode 4 recap. Peace out.